Hey everyone, and welcome back to DIY with Melissa. I, of course, am Melissa, and today I have a fun tutorial for you. We are going to learn how to create the monogram gift tag and the initial gift tags. So this one is the last names I put from the Riley family, and then this says Isabella and Sophia. You could have added a 2 at the top there. That would have been a good idea, but I didn't think about it. um, but yeah, and of course I'm gonna show you how to make it into this Ralph Lauren themed tag, because that's all the hype these days is the Ralph Lauren themed Christmas. So without further ado, let's head over to the computer and get this project started. We are back at the computer and I'm going to get right into how to create this design. I did do another one for social media, which is this one here with this portion of the tag. And we'll go through both sets and how to do the initial as well. I'm going to hide these guys from the screen. So let's start off with the initial first. I'll go with the name. So for Sophia, I'm going to bring in the letter S. I am using the font. You all must be tired of this font, but I absolutely love it. Chip Decor. It to me has like the perfect structure to it when you're doing these types of designs. Next, I'm going to bring in the name Sophia, and the font I'm using for that is called Farmhouse. This is a really pretty font. It's very much like Joseph Sophia, or there's another one, Glitter. I love glitter. This one I also got off of Creative Fabrica, and I'll grab the little glyphs for it. I don't know about you, but I call these squiggly lines all the time. I know I sound like a child, but it's easier than glyphs. Copy that, paste that. Okay, so we have the initial that we're going to change to this color red. Yeah, I like the darker one. And this is going to remain black. So for the last name monogram, I did place it across here. For the names, I thought it would be nicer along the side of the initial like that. But of course, whichever one's your preference, please do. You do want to make sure that your name is sitting in the initial, so it's not coming out on this side or at the top there either. Make it a touch smaller, like so. I'm going to offset this, and I don't want a massive offset, so I found that 0.045 or even less was the perfect offset. Once you have your offset, you just want to make sure and just do a double check that the offset is also not overlapping on your initial. Once you're happy with that, we will go over to the layers panel on the right side. I'm going to grab my offset and my initial, and I'm going to slice. Now on my right side again, I'm going to delete the slice results, which leaves me with just the name sliced out of this S. So there's your slice. You may notice there's some little bits here. You can most definitely leave those in, especially if you're doing print then cut, it won't bug you. But if you're doing this with vinyl, I probably would move this little bit here. And this is personal preference, and truly it might actually look nicer with that portion there. So it'll be a little bit not so open. Although the rest of it is open, so completely personal preference. But how you would get rid of that portion is by selecting just the initial. And at the bottom right, we have our contour. We're going to contour out that little bit that was there. And if you want to contour out the S, you can do that as well. If we do that, that's what it looks like there. Either way looked fine. It's really not too much of a difference with it there or not there. Once you're happy with this, If you're going to use this as is and you want to print then cut this design, so let's say you're going to use some sticker paper and you want to print then cut it, please keep in mind you're going to have to put an offset in. All of this white area here, you can see your grid lines. It's going to cut the hole for the name Sophia out of your initial. So you do want to make sure that you add an offset to the back of your design. Now, you could do a bigger offset, which will give you an outline, which is what I did with the initial here. But if you don't want an outline, you can do a 0 offset. You can contour and hide all contours, and there you go. We'll right click on the offset and send to the back. I'm going to change the color of the offset to white. So now I'm going to zoom in. As you can see, you're no longer able to see the grid lines in the back of the name Sophia. So that is your first design. I'm just going to group that and move it aside, and we're going to continue on with the rest of the design after, and I'll show you how I did it all. I'm going to bring the letter R in, or I guess I'll bring Riley in first since I have the font chosen. And I'll grab my glyphs again. So this is, again, just personal preference, but I personally felt like the monogram for the last name, like this, was much better than the actual name of somebody. But like I said, personal preference. I could probably bring this together a touch. There we go. I don't know if you noticed, but it's not touching right there. And I wanted to just look. I'm all over the place with this zoom. So I'm just taking my letter space down to minus 0.1 to get them to touch. Now we can see it's one piece. And you, of course, would weld it to actually make it a piece. Otherwise, Cricut is going to slice it right there. Now that we have the Riley complete, a massive version of it, I'm going to bring another text box in, and this time we're going to type in the letter R, and I'm going to use the same font, Chip Decor. There we go. I'm going to change the color of this one. We'll go with the lighter red now. I'm going to bring my Riley to the front, place it on my R. We can select both the initial and the name and align center. Looks pretty good to me. We're going to follow the same steps. I'm going to offset the Riley portion. Again, a small offset. And again, using the control button on my keyboard and selecting from the layers panel on the right side, I'm selecting the offset and the letter R, and I'm going to click on slice. I'm going to remove my slice results. Now our initial is complete. We have the same issue here. However, we cannot give it that 0 offset like we did with the S because of the fact that it's the way it's layered. So for the S, we had it just in the center here, but because the R is going through the letter like so, if I send this to the back, change it to white. I'll leave it like that for now. I'm going to select that R and hit contour. It's going to be impossible to contour. If I hide all contours, my offset's gone. And then if I hide the bits, it doesn't work just because it's the way it is on the design. So for this one, you would have to offset it with a slight border. So like so. I'll change that to white, and that's what it will look like. Ultimately, for the tag, I am going to offset both designs like this. So the tag portion is not so bad, but if you wanted to use this for a different project, then you just have to think about what you want to use it for. For a mug, this will be fine. It should just kind of blend in with the mug, but I can't think of what else you might use this for. Think about the design you're going to use it on and go from there. I'll group that together as well for the tag. So for both shapes, I did the exact same thing. I'll bring in this shape this time. And I'm just going to change the color. And this is not necessary. This is just to make things easier to see for you all. I should probably pick a better color. And I'm going to get a circle. Making the circle smaller, I'll select both and align horizontally. Now I can select both the circle and the tag. So you can see on the layers panel, both are selected. I'm going to right click and slice. And now we have the hole in the tag, which will allow us to put some ribbon in the tag. If you don't want to add ribbon, you don't need to slice the hole out for the tag. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to search up the Ralph Lauren Christmas pattern. It's called tartan. That did not work. Let's try that. There we go. I've searched this up quite a few times if you couldn't tell. And we're going to find one that we like and that we are able to save. So I believe I used this one, but you can see there's some other ones here that are so pretty as well. When you right click, we're going to hit save image as. And I always save majority of my images to my downloads folder because once I bring it into Cricut, then it's there for me. And then I know when I'm cleaning off my computer, I can just delete what's in my downloads folder. If it's something I want to keep for future, then I would highly recommend saving it in a spot that you can have for future. You also want to look at your save as type. Your save as type has to be something that Cricut accepts. So under upload in Cricut Design Space, here are the compatible file types that Cricut allows. So this is a JPEG. We can go ahead and save this. I'm going to go back to Cricut, upload image, browse, and it's in my downloads folder. Here it is, and it's in here a few times. We'll click that, open, continue, apply and continue, and this will be a flat graphic because we want to print this design. And continue. Upload. Then we want to make this big enough that it can slice out of the design. We're going to select both the pattern and the tag, right click, slice, or we can use slice on the right hand side here. I can delete that part and that part, or keep the tag part if you feel like doing different designs. Now that we have our tag in our pattern that we want, I'm going to go to shapes and I'm going to bring in a square. And for this design, you'll see I used the rounded square instead of the square cornered version. And then for this one, I use the square corner because it's a squared tag. You just want to open up your square to fit your tag. I want to change the color. And what I found easiest to do was to line center, select just the square, and using the up and down arrow on my keyboard. I'm just bringing this down until it looks centered to me. It's not going to be perfectly centered because of the shape of the tag at the top. I like to group things or at least flatten it just so it's in place, and if I click on it by accident it doesn't move. So I just flattened that. I selected both portions, and you can either right click and flatten or click flatten on the right hand side here. Now I have my initial I can bring in. We're going to resize it to fit this design. Now I'm going to just try and flatten this to see what it's going to look like. I just wanted to show you the difference. So prior to me flattening it, it looks kind of, what would the word be? Not great. We put that offset on earlier, and I can do it again just to show. I select both parts of that initial and the last name. I'm going to offset this to a thin offset, so I'm doing 0.035. Change that offset to white. This one shows a little better. The one I just showed you, you saw how it looked. However, we select everything, right click and flatten. Look how much brighter that looks. Now, definitely play around with this. I feel like my green square is a bit too big. So I'm actually going to unflatten my design. I'm going to group my initial so everything's together. I'm going to unflatten the tag. I'm going to make this smaller. Feel like that looks better. So let's start off with this. We're going to select both the tag and the insert, align center, using my keyboard, arrow up and down. Oh, I went too fast. Just going to center that in this area here. It looks pretty good. And then I'm going to add my name, and I'm going to select the insert and the initial, align center, select everything, right click, flatten. I actually think this is still too big because I have the bow to put in, so I'm actually going to unflatten one last time. And I'm going to change this as I need that bow to fit in there. And then the last thing we're going to do is bring the bow in. The bow that I'm using is called a coquette something bow. Pardon my French, but the image number for this is M506 2D3CE. And you could actually use this one as well, and then just change the colors, whichever one you prefer. If you're going to use this one, you do need to add an offset to it. Again, a thin offset will be lovely. We're going to change the color to white. I'm going to select both the bow and the offset. I'm going to make it smaller. Looks pretty good there. Now I can select everything, right click, flatten. And there you have your gorgeous Ralph Lauren inspired gift tag. One thing I forgot to show for the last name monogram, I did add, I think I wrote from a I did this in this white and adding family at the bottom. And then I just selected the two portions. I want to change both of them to this white and align horizontally. Now if I select everything, right click, flatten, there you have the perfect gift tag. Just quickly, I'm going to show you how I went about bringing these colors in. When in Google, we can search up Christmas color palette and different palettes come up, whether you're looking on your main page where it says all, or if you're looking in images. So we'll start with the main page. As you can see, there's some numbers here. These numbers you're going to bring into, so I'm going to just jot down one of the numbers. So 474 B41. We're going to head back to Cricut. I'm just going to bring my initial in, move that to the side. We're going to go up to our color palette, advance, and at the bottom here, we're going to type in that number. And now we have the green that we just saw here, up here. We go to images. You'll see there's a slew of them that come up. And if you find a color that you like, as long as it has this number, you can bring it in. I use this sometimes too for when I want like a glittery looking design and I'm using it as a print and cut. I will look in here and see what I can find. It can sometimes be a little tedious, but either way, it brings in some gorgeous colors. And instead of having to search through Design Space down in this area here, gives you the color there. This would be really good for themed projects. So if, for instance, you wanted to do Stitch. Stitch is a big one with very specific colors that are related to Stitch. So we have our color palette here for Stitch. And let's say I wanted the family one. It is 9E73AO. We'll head back to Cricut Design Space. Select that. And number sign 9E7390. And there you have it. It was called Family, and now that color is in Design Space. So that's how simple it is to get different colors into Design Space that you can use to match whatever it is you're doing, rather than having to click through and find it here. Because even if I went like this and started searching, it's still going to be too hard to find that color. We're going to go ahead and get these printed, and I'll show you what they look like after they're printed. And there you have it. How gorgeous and easy is that project? I hope you give this a try. If you do, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. And look at that. Oh, it's so pretty. It just adds that little something extra to your gift this holiday season. If you enjoyed this tutorial, let me know in the comments what you thought, if it was easy enough for you to follow along. And of course, if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give me the thumbs up, hit the bell button so you're notified when I post new videos, and of course, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Until next week, I hope you have a fabulous week ahead. Take care. Bye now.